we would work with the sound and create video content or Instagram posts with the sound and the image together. But like we said last time, if you do feel like you would like to do a video thing, you're welcome to try and integrate the sound yourself. But we just assume that everyone would just be using the sound as a starting point and focusing on the image.
Right.
Yeah.
Because all the projects that you did were all video, right? When you switch different layers over time, right? Like Rebecca's project.
Yes, yeah, Rebecca's, all of the stuff that we did in the episode 2, which was like all these performances, those were all videos. But some of the stuff that we did initially was just using still images. And what was quite nice about that is that you could upload it to Google Street View, which unfortunately you can't do with the videos. So yeah, I think it's probably easiest anyway, even if you are doing a video, just to start with making a still image, which you can always translate, at a later stage into a video.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How did you go making the image?
It's going well. I just I figured that the way you guys put it together is kind of collage, like by kind of piece by piece, and continuous environment. I haven't figured out. I wonder if you ever did any flat image and then translated it to distorted ones.
So you mean like more like a kind of all over texture that takes up the whole? That's actually a good question. So that we showed one in our presentation of like a whole bunch of flowers. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe so that we did using that tiny planet method. So just starting with the circular image, it was just like a flat circle of flowers. And then in the tutorial, we went through how to convert that into a rectangular form and then stretch it over the top and bottom of the equirectangular image.
Mm-hmm.
So you can then basically take that circular image with the textures of, let's say, in this case, it was flowers, and apply it over the entire 360. You convert it to rectangular and then bring it into the equirectangular format. And then you can have that kind of all over effect.
Yeah. In the tutorial that you showed, the flowers were still kind of individual, but there was one that you did the whole dome of flowers too.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe we can share screen and go through that. Sorry, Max, we can't hear you.
Anna, have you been putting your image into that 360 toolkit and then exploring it that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but I think it's up to you how much you plot or populate your flat image with in terms of how immersive it will be. I mean, I think in the tutorial, those sort of like grid lines were kept there mainly just to familiarize people with how that space translates from a flat image into that sort of 360 in the various forms. But you obviously don't have to, or by no means required to keep that, and you can cover the whole image with a certain pattern or whatever you see fit. It could be like something from a wallpaper or a texture you find in your house or flowers, for example.
I guess my question was, no, I got the lesson that you guys presented. My question is, since we start with the circle, I wonder if you ever started with anything like flat and then translated it to the circular.
I see.
Oh,
maybe
yeah. If you start with something, are you asking if we ever started with something just like a long rectangle, basically?
Yeah.
And then into a tiny planet.
And then, so yeah, that generally what you find is then you have quite major distortion at the ends of the, and that's why we don't generally do that. If you tried, for instance, like taking an equirectangular image and just having one flat texture, you would see that at the ends of where it gets projected on the sphere, it gets distorted. And that's why, yeah, that's why we work from the circle back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Has anybody maybe discovered some new ways of working, or are there any comments on the process thus far?
How does it, do people sometimes share, do we do share screens sometimes during these sessions?
Yeah, I think you just have to like hold out in the awkward silences, and then usually there's something at the end of it.
Yeah.
Or not. You just we're in awkward silence.
Yeah.
I have a question. Yeah.
Yes. What's up?
Is anyone else having issues with opening up cube maps in Photoshop?
I think I know what the issue might be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think after downloading, if you converted your cube map on that 360 toolkit, I know that sometimes you can't open it in Photoshop. Does it just not allow you to open the file at all?
Yeah, it says like program error or something. Yeah.
Okay, so you just need to open the image in Paint, like Microsoft Paint.
Okay.
And you save it as a JPEG. Just resave it.
Okay.
For some reason, I've had that happen as well. But you can, for instance, you can still open it in like your photo viewer. It just won't open in Photoshop. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll try that. Yeah. Thanks.
Open it and resave it.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
You can also open it in GIMP, I saw.
Oh, yeah. I think, yeah, or anything that just, you just need to be able to resave it. It's probably encoded in some weird way that you can't open in Photoshop.
I have a question about Street View. Because I've seen a lot of examples of like, say a museum where you can click from circle to circle and take you across the space. And I wonder, can you do that as a user? Just can you make a kind of multiple spaces linked together? Is that the goal of the TENS in some way?
That's definitely what we're trying to get right. And we've had success with it in the past, but it's not always guaranteed. So I don't know why, but you know, sometimes also you'll find that you upload something on Street View and it gets rejected. And particularly also when you're trying to link things together, it doesn't always work. But we have managed to crack it in the past. And it often also, you can do that in the Street View app, by the way. So in the Street View app, you can, on your phone, you can link multiple photospheres together to create a tour. And then it needs to be published, and it will only, I think it takes a while to actually appear as a tour after you link it, so it won't be immediately visible. We just found that like we tried it once, and then 2 weeks later we checked, and then it actually worked, but it was like a bit of luck. So we're trying to still crack that. Yeah, it is possible, but I think. As far as I know, you know, Google has like Google certified photographers that they generally want to do this kind of thing. I don't know. I think they have to approve the tour, and that's, you know, when it actually works.
But Danny, to answer your question, that is something we're hoping to do or explore with the idea of getting into these tents. Yeah,
that'd be fun. I shared a link to this other website called Killa.co, and it's nice. It's nice for just like testing your own. It's kind of like an Instagram for 360 images, and you can test your own 360 images, I think, before going through the Google Street View. And they do a thing called tours as well, but I think you need an account, like you need to pay for it to make a tour. But some of the examples they have is, you know, like you can make your own 360 environment of a place and then even put in like messages or text and click to other media or other 360 views. So it seemed pretty interesting and robust what it can be done, but I do think it's not free, which is a disappointment.
There are a couple of those programs where you can like do exactly that, but for us, we were just so, I mean, we think that even through those programs, you can still link it to Google Maps, but ultimately we just really like the kind of going to somewhere dorf that everyone, or like going to a place where everyone is familiar with in terms of the Google Maps, rather than routing through another website to these spaces. But the other one that I'm thinking of is called Qpix, and I think there are quite a couple of them that allow you to do it, and they're also all like packaged in terms of there's like a free version and you can do certain things with them, and also do the click onto hyperlinks via like a kind of a circle in your 360 tour, etc. We just actually haven't got around to doing it yet.
Yeah. So yeah, the one that Ashman mentioned, Qpix, I think you can make tours for free. So it's, I think that's we looked into it at a stage. I think that's the only one we found that could do that for free.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think Google Maps is great, a great way to subvert the form, because it's, I think I zoomed out from one of your maps and it was in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and I loved that. Like you could just hide your gallery anywhere in the world. I think there's something quite nice about that.
We've actually had quite a couple of people messaging that clearly live in the middle of nowhere in Texas, and they've come and they've like sent messages saying, like, we came across this space, like, what is this kind of thing? And all of our images have got our Instagram handle on. So they've then gone onto Instagram and found us and messaged us. And you get like, I think we've had someone from like the middle of Canada, and like just people going like, what is this that I've just got to?
That's awesome, though.
But that's also a fun thing to play around with. I mean, that's what we played a bit with it for the first exhibition, and maybe again for these tent atmospheres. And maybe it links back to the origin of the sound, is like maybe can be geolocated to that region or a place where that was recorded. I know, like some of the meals are sort of regional. For example, it's maybe a nice link to create, or for the visual as well, maybe there's some references that would link to something that someone would like. Yeah, but some of the spaces we chose were just mainly because of what they are called. Like the one in Namibia called Toekoms, which is Afrikaans for the future, and we thought that was like a cool location for a gallery. And other places were like Inside Passage. I think that's in India. Yeah, it's a whole. You can find a lot of interesting place names on the internet too. If one is interested to be specific about where it gets placed.
So so with the plot with episode 1, you were actually moving the gallery around.
Yeah.
Every
there
time
was
was different.
There was 9 uploads in total, and each upload was located in a different place. Yeah.
And Google doesn't say, oh, by the way, this isn't a real place. We don't let you upload it, or
Not yet.
Yeah, so had it reject some views, but we haven't figured out why it rejects it yet. Because I mean, you know, it didn't reject any of those that we uploaded in the plot episode 1, and they were all over, all over the world.
But I did miss. Sorry, Bex, go.
No, you carry on.
I did message on the Discord thread there that because when you are to be able to share it as a Google Maps link, it has to be located somewhere. So you have to choose a map listing in order to publish it. And when you're doing that, you can search or identify either an address, a place. They can even be like businesses or landmarks, for example. And I just suggested to avoid it getting rejected, like to avoid certain, like very popular places. I mean, because then you're going to be, someone's going to report it if they're trying to go check out the Eiffel Tower and they see Irina's hot dog atmosphere. But yeah.
How do you make a place on Google Maps?
It's so hard.
Sorry.
You go, Danny.
How do you make a place? That's a good. I think. I mean, I wonder. You know, in maps, when you right-click, it says "What's here." Can you not add a place? Like you can add your business on.
Well,
oh wait, now this is a good time for me to comment on what I was going to say. Is because Sabrina, I don't know if they're there right at this moment, but Sabrina was saying to me that she's been vetoed by Google. She's like a registered placemaker. Like she's done it for so long. Isn't that, how does that actually work?
No, but it's not, it's not an actual position. It's more like they track, whenever you go. So sometimes in Bangkok, when we were living there together, I was amending the streets by the scooter. So some were dead ends, and amending them, they trusted me so much that nowadays they ask me to go around the corner to check that place, or if they change the sense of the road, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go there. Yes. But also, like, you can take pictures. It's really good. Like when you take picture of they ask you for the textures of the road, not the textures, the composition. So they want to know if there are rocks, or, for example, now in the south of Italy, Sicily and Calabria are famous for like roads made out of bodies and paint and cement. And whatever, so they ask what type of road, and checking if it's true that they are making it with cement, or I don't know, like if they just renew the road, and they ask questions. Yeah,
they might get in touch with you to clean up our mess that we are littering throughout.
I personally think the idea of digital placemaking is really interesting because, for example, on Instagram, to tag a location, it has to be a location which is verified through Facebook, right? Because it's owned by Facebook, and so you have to be a business location on Facebook or some. I don't know how you define a place that's not a business, but it has to be existing already within Facebook's kind of data in order for you to tag on Instagram. So we were trying to do that for Spaceland. We didn't have we couldn't just say like, Spaceland's here. We had to find an address which was already kind of registered, and then use that for our business address, and then we could tag it.
but if you have more than 10,000 followers, you can invent a place.
Oh, okay. Just gotta get that.
Always useful.
I love the power that you get once you have 10,000 followers. You can do anything.
I did.
That's why you buy followers to invest. Sto dicendo Danny del.
Are there any other comments from the participants?
Does anyone want to share their screen?
Yeah, I'd love to see someone's.
Or even just like little snippet of some atmosphere, as it doesn't have to be a 360.
Yeah, I mean, I can show the first half of mine.
Yeah.
Is it possible to share screen for me? Oh, it is, okay. Oh, let me see.
You go to present now.
While you're sorting that out, Lele, maybe you can tell us what the audio that you picked was.
I picked the audio. It was called "Making a Maltese Ftira."
Okay.
Making
a Maltese ftira. I guess it's a Maltese dish.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is, but I thought I'd take that opportunity to kind of like interpret the sound and kind of imagine what the experience of making it would be without knowing what it actually is. And okay, let me just open the. Okay. I mean, no offense to Malta and Tila, but okay, let me present. So like, yeah, I don't want this to be offensive. Can you guys see it?
Not yet, no.
Can you? Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
So,
amazing.
So I kind of just thought of like the audio had a lot of it sounded like a lot of bashing and and like a lot of mixing, a lot of sounds like that, which was cool, and a lot of teamwork and working together. But so then I thought of like, what would the experience of making it be? And then I think I kind of just got like ridiculous with it. I thought it would be interesting to like get the experience of the sound in the. How do I stop sharing?
And what are you interested in? What are you interested in pushing it to next?
Sorry.
Yeah, where are you planning to take it to now that you've got to where you have?
I think I'm gonna like add more. I'm gonna add more objects and try get more depth and like a feeling of it being really close to you. Mm-hmm. And then at the bottom, I was thinking of having like hands holding like a trampoline or something, and kind of bouncing the ingredients up and down in this bowl. Because in the audio there was a lot of like, it sounded like there were a lot of people making this thing, which was quite cool. It seemed like culturally quite an important moment. So I thought like a few people holding a trampoline and making the sound with these objects in a bowl would kind of give the experience of making the dish. And then I just want to try and get it as much depth to it, but I don't know.
Because it might be also worth thinking about those things through the lens of the rules of engagement, that the final task. Because say you might not be able to achieve this feeling of bouncing, you could in your rules of engagement say jump up and down 10 times or something like that as a means of prepping someone to get into that energy, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking also of saying like wear a helmet if you can, and then and then go into the space. And, yeah.
Cool.
Bouncing up and down is a really good idea.
It's so nice to see just like somebody's interpretation already. Maybe just to emphasize, like the way you interpret the sound is really up to your individual creativity. So if you listen to the sound and see something that's unrelated to food, that's totally okay as well. Or at least that's how I understand it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so cool. I loved seeing it felt like all the spices and seeds were like moving.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was working really well. I think there was like a really nice sense of depth, and I really felt like I was in that bowl. I think it would also be cool to, if you want to test like this, like bouncing around, I would recommend testing it on the Street View app on your phone, because it will move with, like, depending on how you move your phone. So you won't have to like scroll, you know, to move the image. You know, you can, you can bounce up and down, and the image will bounce with you. You know.
Sure. So once you do this.
Yeah.
Then, yeah. Okay, I see. Cool.
I mean, and you could feel free to add sort of notes of instructions into the space as well. You know, you could, I don't know, for example, put arrows or text to, you know, move your screen up and down fast here, you know, or, you know, that's another, yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked how the bowl upside down was looking like a dome. It was like really much referring to an architectural element. I wonder, I don't know how much that could be pushed, if it's possible to show reflections within the metal bowl, and if the scale of that could, you know, somehow become the background of the other objects. Or yeah, I like this idea of being inside the container. I think it was quite successful. Yeah.
I'm also not muted. Okay, any last questions before we move on to Lemonade?
One more share screen, come on.
Has anyone cracked the gift thing? There was someone who had an idea of how they could get gifts into the 360s. Yeah, we'll follow up on that. Yeah.
No one? Should we move on? Should we move on to the interlude?
I guess I want to show, but I haven't thought about the context. I just threw the images I had just to understand how it works, but I haven't thought about the sound that much. But I have a question. If I'm in the present now. If I'm in the equirectangular or in the square, I'm not sure right now. Like I placed, like, because I when I look at the grid, it looks like I'm in the cube. But maybe but when I look without, it looks maybe equirectangular without the grid.
So were you working in Photoshop? Which were you working with the equirectangular grid?
Yeah, I was working in equirectangular, but then I transferred it to the cube version, right? And then transferred it back to a rectangular and then uploaded it.
Okay.
So I don't know where I ended up. It looks like I ended up in the cube, right? Is that how it feels?
Well, yeah, I think it'll always have that cube because that's just the grid that we set up. So I mean, you can remove that. It was just there as a
just wanted to make sure that I ended up in the right format.
It doesn't really matter. It's up to you. I think it's successful either way. But I think it'd be cool. I mean, people can choose to keep the grid there or not. But if you go back to your other tab with the grid, it starts to add like a bit more depth, for example. So when you go to the tab without the grid lines, I don't know, maybe feels not empty, but you kind of want there to be something like a texture or something in the distance to, I don't know, add in sort of like this another layer of intrigue. But I really, I dig your cows and stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to create the grid with the trees, but it wasn't really working, I guess. Like
but yeah, keep at it. Huh?
Yeah, I'll add more objects. Thank you.
What was the title of your audio?
This wasn't really about my audio is about barbecue, so that's why the cows, but I haven't thought about it yet.
Okay.
But sometimes what we've been doing is like, I don't know, you could take almost any image or texture or any image and almost like scale it up to a really big scale, and then through some of the sort of Photoshop or GIMP filters, distort it in a way that it becomes slightly more abstract, and then that I don't know, it can sometimes form like an interesting backdrop that like sort of occupies the scene without distracting you too much. So you don't always have to think about it being the whole space needs to be filled with objects to have like depth. You can almost just create your own sort of backdrop for these spaces.
And like I was saying earlier, if you do want to do something like that, remember to first do it in a circle, and then do the distortion to a rectangle. Because if you just take the rectangle over, it's going to distort weirdly. But that could also be cool.
That might be cool, yeah.
That would be cool as well, yeah.
The texture in the circle, right? Is that what you said? But then you also added the third texture, your orange. You added it when you had a cube view because you were following the guides.
Yes, yeah. If you want to make more like solid flat planes, but if you want this kind of all over texture, then it works best to do it first as a circle and then stretch it out and pull it over the equirectangular.
I guess it ended up very flat for me. Like this not successful texture. It ended up very flat for me.
Oh, that's cool. This you did with the circle.
So I
cool.
need more space, I guess, in it. Like your flowers were kind of small and big, so it felt like you have space. Yeah, I'm gonna experiment more. Thank you.
Cool.
But it's so groovy, nice.
Yeah, it is cool. The other thing that is really fun to play with is the Street View app. I don't know if anyone's tried just making 360s just with their phone in the Street View app, because that can be a lot of fun. We couldn't give it a tutorial on it because it was just done on phone, but you basically go around photographing things, and you can also move while you're stitching them together. So typically you would just stand in one fixed location and it wants you to just scan a 360 image, but you can cheat it by like moving around and like photographing your mug and then photographing a rock and photographing something else, and then it'll stitch it together in this weird 360 that's like joined. You can go for a run and take 360s of all different moments while you're moving.
Can you export those images? So then can you
They save automatically onto your camera roll as like a JPEG. I'll show you. I'll share a screen here. When we were messing around a couple of weeks back. Let me just find it. We had a. Oh, let me get my presentation view. Am I sharing? There we go. So we just had a sheepskin rug lying around, and then in the Google Street View app, we're sort of just moving it around and photographing it from sort of like different angles. And like this is the sort of interesting space that came out. I mean, we thought it was like really fun. I mean, had like a yeah, and it's not as easy to predict. You can't be like as precise, and there's sometimes like sort of like obvious joins, but in the sort of processing phase, once you've finished doing all your photos through the app, it does like try stitch it together seamlessly. But sometimes the so-called mistakes are like interesting as well. Yeah, so you can definitely create interesting atmospheres through that app as well. I mean.
And then
you
take a rectangle and then put it in. You can put it in Photoshop and add, for example, some details, right?
Yes, this will automatically save as an equirectangular image on your camera feed, and then as you say, you can just put that into Photoshop and add other objects or anything else. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the second part of today. If there's no more questions, last chance, raise your hands. Is Lemon not here? Yeah, I see them. Hi guys.
I had one quick thing. Sorry, Danny, I saw the image that you claimed. I think it was the lasagna thing wasn't in an audio file. I mean, have you sorted that out?
Oh, I actually didn't listen to the audio. I just wanted to randomly choose one. So
okay,
I think it's
lasagna and wine. I mean, it's in a it wasn't saved as an audio file on my side. I couldn't open it, so. When you do listen to it, maybe, well, I don't know if Thomas or I don't know who it is, if he's on here, maybe just making him aware that it's not saved in a format that's audio.
No, I get an MP3 when I download it.
Okay, then maybe it's just my side, but I see he's responded on the chat here anyway. Cool, that's all from me.